Welcome to HFY Tube original sci-fi stories. It wasn't a military target. There were no weapons, no soldiers, no warning, just laughter and crayons, and a sunrise. The orphanage sat on the eastern ridge of New Damascus Colony, Sector 4, Terran Protectorate, a peaceful valley between two forested hills. The kind of place you'd build when you thought war was a distant memory. 43 children lived there, ages 2 to 11. They had names and dreams and drawings hung on the walls. Caretakers read them stories every night. Some of those stories were about aliens, friendly ones. But all of that changed at 07:32 local time. The first light wasn't the sun. It came from above, an orbital flash, silent. A moment later, the roof melted, the walls incinerated, the very air turned to fire. A low-power plasma rod, meant to pierce bunkers, not vaporize nursery halls, struck center mass on the building's solar core. No alarms, no shields, just children. Gone. The Alien Alliance responsible called it an accident, a miscalculated trajectory. They issued a statement. Cold, sterile, translated with machine voice calm. We regret the collateral impact on non-military structure 4428E. Targeting matrix did not properly categorize Terran structure due to passive heat signature inconsistencies. No apology, just technical language. No names, just numbers. The children didn't even warrant acknowledgement. And Earth heard every word. The footage leaked within an hour. The crater, the carbonized playground, the partially fused swing set that still stood, blackened by fire but swaying gently in the wind. One of the swings had a melted teddy bear sitting in it. News anchors couldn't finish their sentences. Soldiers in far-off posts went silent and walked out of mess halls. Pilots stopped joking mid-transmission. Mothers called their children just to hear them breathe. And in New Damascus orbit, 3 ships changed course without orders. The first retaliation strike happened exactly 37 minutes later. No authorization, no protocol. Just one human gunship. Call sign Ghost Hammer, Captain Ilara Juno. She sent no warning, no transmission. Just 32 antimatter lances into the nearest known fleet of the Alliance. A non-combat transport convoy. Gone. When command asked for an explanation, her only reply was, "They bombed our children." Earth's official response came later that day. The Terran High Council gathered under Emergency Code Polaris 0, a wartime classification not used since the last interspecies conflict a century prior. They played the orbital footage again, in silence. Then the Secretary of Defense stood up, 14 words, "We will not wait for justice. We are already on the way." The vote was unanimous. Protocol judgment was activated. Protocol judgment wasn't a military doctrine. It was a signal, a reminder to the stars that Earth had written its own rules when it came to war, that we didn't do proportional responses. We did memory. Because humans never forget the sound of silence where laughter once lived. And now fire was coming. The First Fleet moved under blackout. No call signs. No IDs, just burned signatures. The Alliance scrambled diplomats. Too late. Earth no longer recognized their language. Back on New Damascus, the crater was sealed and marked. A monument wasn't built. Instead, they left the rubble untouched. But embedded into the fused earth was a single steel slab. No names. Just 5 carved words. They were only children. Remember. And Earth did. Down to the last soul, down to the last ember, down to the last second before retaliation began. Because what the Alliance didn't understand, what the galaxy had forgotten, was that you don't strike Earth and expect a press release. You strike Earth, you inherit its wrath. The first wave was silent. Not stealth, not subtle, just fast. Orbital black insertion units, Terran designation Judgment Phantoms, entered 3 fringe Alliance systems without so much as a sensor ping. No light, no comms, no trails. Then entire communication grids collapsed, not jammed. Deleted, files, memories, satellite cores scrubbed. The only thing left behind on every screen was a Terran glyph. 5 children holding hands. No message, no threats, just memory. Earth wasn't targeting military installations. Not yet. They went after symbols. Government towers, state-run media satellites, cultural monuments. They didn't destroy them, they erased them. Craters where museums once stood. Smoke where shrines stood proud. One target was an imperial opera house. The high priestess of the Thalos pantheon was mid-performance when the entire ceiling peeled back like paper. From above, a single Terran drone hovered, projecting human child laughter on full volume. It circled twice, then ascended. 10 seconds later, the entire city block disappeared in a column of blue flame. Back on Earth, no politician gave a speech. No general smiled for the cameras. They didn't need to, because across every Terran fleet the orders were already engraved in steel. No mercy, no delay, no survivors where guilt resides. The second wave was louder. Carrier Group Saul's teeth arrived at the border fortress of the Gethari Combine, one of the Alliance's founding powers. The Combine readied shields, deployed ships, warned civilians. Earth didn't fire a shot, not immediately. Instead, they broadcast one image on every frequency, the orphanage, before the strike. A still image of children running through a garden. Then static, then silence. Then the fleet opened fire. They didn't just destroy targets. They carved patterns into the planet. Precision bombardment sliced massive trenches across the capital. From orbit, the scars formed a message in Earth Standard. We are not the monsters. You made them. The Dominion attempted counterattacks. 3 skirmishes. All 3 fleets vanished before reaching Terran space. Not destroyed, absorbed. Black box data recovered from one command ship showed an image of a single human child standing in a firelit hallway, eyes glowing gold. Analysts called it psychological warfare. Doctors called it impossible. Pilots called it a warning. And those who saw it never flew again. Then Earth deployed retribution teams. These weren't military units. These were licensed civilians. Orphans grown up. Survivors of war, engineers, miners, farmers, coders. They weren't armed with guns. They were armed with hatred and nothing left to lose. They didn't conquer. They turned the Alliance's colonies into haunted ruins. Whispers of humans walking untouched through radiation storms. Of voices singing lullabies where no speakers existed. Of children's toys found in command centers right before critical systems exploded. The Alliance begged for talks. Earth didn't respond, not even with words, only fire, until one world broke protocol. Virx 9, a mining moon. They surrendered without resistance. Their governor walked into the Terran drop zone with no weapon, carrying only a child's blanket. He laid it down, kneeled, and said, "We did not drop the bomb, but we stood by while it fell." The Earth officer on site removed her helmet, said only this, "Then stand by now." And they left, didn't fire a shot, didn't take the planet. Because Earth's fury was surgical, intentional, unrelenting, but not aimless. And still no human leader stepped forward, because this wasn't leadership, this wasn't war, this was mourning set to flame. In orbit above Terran Protectorate Earth, a new satellite was launched. It played one thing, a looped hollow recording of the orphanage garden. Children laughing, watering plants, making silly faces. No narration, no music. Just the truth that had burned into every Terran soul like a brand, and now it would be burned into the stars. The third wave didn't come from Earth. It came from those who had once feared it. Mercenaries, outer colonies, former enemies. Even neutral species began switching sides, not to support Earth but to get out of its way. Entire fleets defected mid-battle. Commanders cut power to engines. Governors broadcast surrender before Earth even entered orbit. They weren't terrified of humans. They were terrified of what Earth had become when it stopped holding back. The Threx Empire tried to retaliate. Their grand fleet, 47 warships, engaged a Terran battle group over the Nebari line. The battle lasted 6 minutes, not because the Threx were weak, but because they didn't understand. Earth no longer fought like a military. Earth fought like a parent whose children were slaughtered, and there is no strategy against that kind of resolve. One by one, alliance systems fell, not conquered, erased. The orbital scans left no survivors. Cities turned to glass. Oceans boiled, space stations collapsed from within, but Earth always left something behind. A crater, a steel plaque, a children's drawing burned into stone, the same message again and again. You struck first. In the political halls of the Galactic Accord, once neutral leaders gathered in hushed fear. They begged Earth for peace talks. No reply. They proposed reparations. Earth didn't answer. So they tried broadcasting apologies in Terran standard across every channel. What they got was a return feed. Visual only, the swing set, still swaying. No words, no mercy. One by one, alien empires began collapsing internally. Civil unrest exploded. Civilians demanded their leaders step down before Earth arrived. Entire planetary senates voted to hand over control to Earth's command before a single Terran drone was sighted. In some sectors, species began building orphanages of their own, offering them as tribute. They left them empty, silent, waiting. The children were never coming back. And Earth never forgot. The Tarshek hierarchy, one of the Alliance's founding species, detonated their own core world to avoid Earth's wrath. 1 billion of their own people, gone, just to escape judgment. The explosion formed a permanent nebula. Terrans named it the Garden, not out of cruelty, but remembrance. They seeded the center with glowing plasma buoys, spelling out the names of every child lost on New Damascus. Every name, every age, every one of them remembered. The Alliance command structure shattered. Its leadership fled to deep space. But Earth already had the coordinates, not because of spies, but because humans know how to listen. And vengeance makes the stars speak. The fleet known only as Iron Sky descended on the command hideout like a falling star. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't broadcast. The feed went dark within seconds. The last thing recorded was a single voice. You bombed an orphanage, this is mercy. In the aftermath, silence reigned, not peace, silence. No war declarations, no ceasefires, just the absence of resistance. Because Earth wasn't fighting anymore, it was finishing something. And no empire, no council, no fleet dared interrupt. And yet through it all, Earth rebuilt. Quietly, efficiently, deliberately. New Damascus was never re-inhabited. It became a sanctuary moon. No ships were allowed to enter orbit without Terran genetic clearance. In the center of the ruins, a single garden was replanted, with real trees and real flowers, and a new swing set, untouched, waiting. No one sits in it. No one dares. Because even after all the fire and steel, the galaxy learned something deeper. You can make war with humans. You can even win a few battles. But if you harm their children, you are not an enemy. You are already gone. The war didn't end. It stopped. Not because treaties were signed, not because enemies surrendered, but because no one dared continue. The galaxy had gone quiet. Empires dissolved. Alliances fractured. Broadcasts fell silent at the mention of Earth. And in that silence came the final message. No one knew who authorized it. Not Earth's council, not the military, not any nation. But every system, every satellite and relay across known space suddenly paused, screens flickered, lights dimmed, and a single transmission played uninvited. A human voice, soft, female, steady, no threat in her tone, only grief. And memory. Behind her an image, the orphanage ruins, ashes, melted steel, a swing slowly moving in the wind. She spoke. You asked why we burned your cities, why we shattered your fleets, your monuments, your pride, why we refused your apologies, your reparations, your sorrow, because you didn't lose your children. We did. She stepped aside. The feed changed. 43 names appeared on screen, each one followed by a photo, a laugh. A scribble, a memory, children with no war in their hearts, children with futures stolen. Then the voice returned. We warned you once, do not touch what is sacred. You ignored it. This is the last time. No more forgiveness. No more mercy. No more Earth pretending to be what you want us to be. She leaned in. Her eyes, ancient, hollow, unblinking, pierced through every screen. We told you never again. And the broadcast ended. Across the stars, systems locked themselves down. Colonies reinforced ancient treaties. Outposts dismantled weapons. Former enemies of Earth placed Terran flags at their borders, not as signs of surrender but of warning. We are not your enemy. We are not your target. We are not them. In the aftermath, no human forces advanced further. They returned home. They rebuilt, but they did not forget. Earth entered a new phase not of isolation but of observation. They watched, quiet, patient, because they knew memory was the true weapon, and the galaxy now shared it. The orphanage was never rebuilt, not physically, but its memory was embedded into Terran data cores, taught in schools, etched into the hulls of every fleet vessel in a single line. Children of Fire, 43, not martyrs. Not symbols, just names, and that made them eternal. Decades passed, species evolved, fleets modernized. But whenever a civilization discussed going to war with Earth, whenever politicians grew arrogant or generals confident, someone always asked, "Do you remember the swing?" And silence followed, because even the stars themselves still seemed to hold their breath. One final file remains on Earth's restricted archives. Its encryption is unbreakable. Its title, Answer Logged. Inside, a single video feed, a playground, empty, wind blowing softly, and on one swing, moving just slightly, a small teddy bear.